Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of On The Mark. I'm your host, Mark Brantley, and each Wednesday evening we're here from 8 until 10 for 2 hours of primetime talk radio. It is a pleasure to be here with you again, and I hope that we can have an enlightening and interesting conversation this evening as we engage with each other and as we try to do our little bit to build on this pillar of democracy here in St. Kitts and Nevis, freedom of speech. On this show, all shades of public opinion are invited, all shades of public opinion are accepted. I require only one thing, and that we respect each other. And even where we disagree, and we often do, that we do not become disagreeable or forget the standards, the very high standards that VON Radio has set. Here, only the best will do. And I would want to emphasize that even outside VON Radio, when we engage with each other, we should ensure that only the best will do. Let me say a special good evening to all of our friends and family here on the island of Nevis, those in St. Kitts, those in the wider Caribbean, those in the United States and Canada, those in the United Kingdom and elsewhere. I was given special instructions to say good evening to Jackie and Moses there in England. They listen every week. Good evening to Mems, if you're listening, Mems. I'm not leaving you out tonight. Good evening to the whole church ground crew, Dolores, Pretty, and everyone else. Good evening, of course, to all of you, wherever you are. A special evening is wished to you. It's a beautiful evening here in Nevis, and of course we are here tonight, and we hope to be here for the next 2 hours, and we hope that when the lines open that we will have a good conversation. If my friend Roach and Shark and those guys are listening in the Virgin Islands, good evening to all of you and your families. Doc and the entire clan in New York, good evening to you. My sisters Soraya, Helen in New York, good evening to you as well. Whoever you are, wherever you are, a special evening is wished to all of you, and let us hope that tonight we will have a good show. Now, let me get straight to it. Let me start by expressing some very deep condolences to the family of the late Arthur Evelyn. Arthur Evelyn, as we know, was a businessman of some renown here on the island of Nevis and in the wider Federation. He was one of the pioneers in the pharmacy and pharmaceutical industry here. He would have contributed tremendously. He was a politician, has served as a minister in the Nevis Island administration, and he passed away here a few days ago. I would want to extend my very deep condolences to his family, his two children, Charlene and Leslie, and of course his entire family circle, all his siblings and others who, of course, had an excellent relationship with him. Mr. Evelyn was the epitome of humility. He served with distinction, with no fanfare. He was an honorable man, a decent and humble individual who contributed tremendously to the island of Nevis and the development of the wider Federation. He shall be missed. His countenance, his humility, his wisdom, and the way that he went about everything that he did. In my own life, I've had to come into contact with him on a few occasions, and I've always been impressed that a man who has achieved so much was without arrogance. He was, in my view, the epitome of humility. Mr. Evelyn will be missed, and I extend my deep condolences to his entire family. I gather that the homegoing service for him will be an official funeral, and I'm very pleased that the government has been able to offer him that accolade because of his long service, because that he had served in the Parliament, and because, of course, of his stellar contribution to this country, and that service will be on Monday next at the ETW Park. And so I wish, of course, everything to go smoothly, and for us to really be able to give Mr. Evelyn the type of send-off that is befitting for someone who has really lived a life of service. And so again, to the family, I extend my very deepest condolences to his children and to his entire family circle. From all of us here at VON Radio, from myself and my own family, we extend deep condolences to you, and may the prayers of the multitude comfort you in your hour of bereavement. On this sad note, let me also express condolences to my dear cousin Cass from Brownhill, and of course Cheryl. They had a daughter, Candice, together, who has passed. I spoke to Cass today. Cass, if you're listening, brother, please accept my condolences to you and Cheryl and the entire family. It really is a very sad day that you have lost your daughter. Candice, of course, was not yet 50, still a young woman, and she has passed away. And so, Cass, I hope, my brother, my cousin, my family, my very dear friend, that you will accept my condolences. And so I extend my condolences to you and to the entire family. Death is always a difficult thing to deal with, and even though we all expect it, we all know that it will come. When it comes, we're never quite prepared. And so, notwithstanding how long we've lived, notwithstanding how much we are ill and ailing, the truth is that it is a certain finality to it that I believe tears away at the fabric of the human spirit. And so we ought to prepare for it. We know it will come. It is said to be inevitable. That inevitable end, as Shakespeare said, will come when it will come. But we are nevertheless saddened when it comes because of the finality of it all. And so for all those families that are mourning, to the Evelyn family, to Cass and his family, I want to extend my deepest condolences to you all, and to pray that God will comfort you in this your hour of bereavement. We have, moving on from that, some pressing issues here. I just on the way here got off the phone with our head of our COVID task force here, Dr. Judy Nisbet, who incidentally, let me take a moment to congratulate her and Mr. Brian Dyer for being awarded a National Award, a Medal of Honor, and also to Dr. Linton Liebert, who also received that award. These were the three divisions. Of course, let me congratulate those from St. Kitts as well, who also received honors over there. I believe there was a ceremony just yesterday. Let me commend in particular Abdias Samuel, the chair of the National COVID Task Force, Dr. Hazel Laws and Dr. Cameron Wilkerson, all of whom I believe have epitomized country above self. They would have received their awards yesterday, and congratulations to them. I do know that there's another ceremony, I'm told, tomorrow, where our Deputy Governor General, Her Honor Hailita Liebert, and Mr. Colin Tyrrell will both receive awards from Her Majesty the Queen. And so I would want to commend them in advance and congratulate them as well for their long service to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. Going back to the issue of my conversation this evening, we have had a very serious turn of events here in St. Kitts and Nevis. As you know, like everywhere else, we have been battling this COVID-19 pandemic for some time. We did incredibly well. In fact, I think in comparison to many others, we're still doing quite well. But for quite some time, we held the gate and COVID was kept at bay. But COVID, being COVID, is always looking for some way to come. It's always looking for some way to attack, to get into our homes and in our families, in our businesses, and to destroy and to kill. And so, notwithstanding that we were able to keep our numbers at just about 45 for nigh 14 months, in the space of time since on or about May 18th, I think it was this year. May, June, July, August. So in the space of May to June, 1 month, June to July, 2 months, July to August, 3 months, we are now over 700 cases. Of those 700 cases, the vast majority, well over 95% of those cases have been on St. Kitts, and we've only thus far had 25 cases on Nevis. However, there have been a lot of very dangerous developments for our country. First of all, we have now confirmed that we have the Delta variant in St. Kitts and Nevis. The Delta variant was discovered after there was a number of samples were sent off to CARFA for testing. I can confirm that the person who tested positive for Delta has fully recovered. It was an incoming passenger, and so was in quarantine when it was detected. And so the hope would be that it did not get out into the general community. But you notice the word I use. I said the hope, because truth be told, we have also had Lambda variant, which really did a tremendous level of damage on St. Kitts and has now also been detected on Nevis. So we have Delta, a patient that was detected here, who was thankfully fully recovered, and we feel at this point and hope at this point that it did not get out into the wider community. And Lambda, which we know has been wreaking havoc throughout St. Kitts and Nevis for some time, and it's highly infectious and has been responsible for a large number of cases that we have had. Put that in context for me. 45 cases in 14 months. Over 700 cases in the following 3 months. So it gives you a sense of what is happening and where this is going. Now, along the way, we have had news that in just the past 2 days, Nevis has had another 3 positive cases. When I spoke this evening to Dr. Nisbet, I asked, of course, for the update because, as always, I seek to be forthright and to come to you with accurate information. And she had not yet had the results, but she told me to brace myself and that we ought to brace ourselves because they had been forced to test every single member of a company here because the individuals that had been tested and had tested positive were all employees of a particular company. And so they've tested everyone now, and it appears, although we do not yet know the numbers, that there will be additional cases. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is in every sense where the rubber now meets the road. We have talked and talked and talked. The government has sought to do its very best. I can sense and see the fatigue in so many of our frontline workers who continue to try their very best in difficult and unrewarding circumstances. Along the way, so many of our people have simply refused to heed. So many of our people have shunned, have even cursed out, have abused our doctors, the scientific information that they have shared, our politicians and leaders, our Prime Minister, myself as Premier. People have become quite angry and suggesting that people are forcing them to do what they do not wish to do and that they have their rights. And we hear this word right being trumpeted all around. In some instances, regrettably, they're being encouraged by those who seek political office. And so it has been a difficult period for us. I confess that all along we were told about the non-pharmaceutical measures, the wearing of masks, the physical distancing, the washing of hands. We were told about curfews and lockdowns. And we knew that those things could not last because so many of them, like lockdowns and curfews, etc., were unnatural, and they brought the country to a standstill. They brought the economy to a standstill. We have been bruised and battered since March of 2020. It has not relented. And all along the way, we hoped for a better solution than just the non-pharmaceutical measures. And eventually, God granted man the wisdom to develop vaccines. And vaccines which had helped with smallpox, with measles, with so many diseases such as polio and others, which have saved millions and millions of lives across the world. These vaccines were developed for COVID-19. And I confess that knowing that our people are highly literate and highly intelligent people, I did not foresee any difficulty. Because my sense was that if you are in an ocean drowning and you were to be thrown a lifeline, that it wouldn't be natural and normal and sensible to grab that lifeline. To my surprise, a vocal minority has decided that they do not wish to have that lifeline and will not accept any such lifeline. And we're here now to talk about their rights, their individual rights, not to get a vaccine. I have said before that COVID-19 is not like diabetes or cancer. It is not like hypertension. Those are what they call non-communicable, or if you wish, non-contagious diseases. If you have cancer, you can't cough on somebody and give it to them. If you have diabetes, you can't touch somebody and give it to them. If you have high blood pressure, you cannot give it to somebody because you eat from the same plate as they do. Those are non-communicable diseases. They are not passed from one person to another. And so I have said publicly that if you do not believe the science and you refuse to accept any treatment for your cancer, you refuse to accept any treatment for your diabetes or your high blood pressure, that is on you. You are the only person affected by your decision. With COVID-19, however, you're dealing with a highly contagious and highly dangerous disease. One that we're told, which is transmitted through airborne particles when somebody coughs or sneezes, when they touch a surface and you were to touch that surface as well, that they're all opportunities to spread COVID-19. That's why we're wearing a mask, to try and keep particles out, protect ourselves and protect others. That's why we're washing hands frequently with soap and water, or using hand sanitizer to kill the virus on our hands. COVID-19 is highly contagious and highly dangerous. We now have variants of it, such as Lambda and now this dreaded Delta variant, which are even more contagious, we are told, and in the case of Delta, even more dangerous. COVID-19, therefore, is not in the same category of sickness or disease as non-communicable diseases. And whenever one is confronted with a highly contagious disease, different measures become necessary. When you decide you're not going to vaccinate against COVID-19 because you have your rights, you must appreciate that the exercise of your rights when you're dealing with a highly contagious disease is a matter that can also affect others. So if you are an adult and you know that children cannot be vaccinated because there's currently no vaccine available for them, and I will get to that. When I say children here, I mean children under 12. And you go out and you party and you fet and you decide, listen, I'm not worried about no COVID. I have my rights and I will not vaccinate. And you were to contract Delta, Lambda, or even just the regular COVID variant, and you go home to your children with it. You go home to your sick grandmother who has underlying heart and diabetes and hypertensive issues. The reality is that your decision does not only affect you. Now, I mentioned the fact that 3 individuals who have tested positive in Nevis in the last 2 days work for the same company. The entire company now has to be tested, all the employees. And more importantly, ladies and gentlemen, the authorities have now shut down the entire company. The entire company has been shut down. It means, therefore, that there is no opportunity for that company to earn, perhaps for the next 7 or 14 days. I want you to reflect on that for a moment. Because you see, there's a debate that's going on in the country. And people say, oh, it is not right that anybody is going to say to me, I'm sorry, that I have to vaccinate or I can't work for their company. I have a right to work wherever I want to work, and I have a right not to take any vaccine. But you see, the consequences, people who choose a particular path are entitled to choose their path. But here we have a major company on the island of Nevis now shut down because there is the fear that within that entity there is a cluster. And so work stop, earnings stop, everything stops. Is it fair to the company owners? Is it fair to its shareholders? Is it fair to other employees who work there and depend on that for a livelihood? That is why I'm saying that the exercise by any one of us of rights that we say we have, in the case of a highly contagious and highly dangerous disease, impacts everyone else. And that continues to be the very real danger of this situation with COVID-19. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I had occasion to have a conversation with a young lady recently. And I was very impressed with the clarity of thought that she brought to this issue. And why was she concerned? She said that cases appear to be rising at a time when children are shortly due to go back to school. That is the plan, that is the hope, that children will be headed back to school in the next few weeks. We do not yet have precise dates, but that is the intention. And so here we are dealing yet again with this issue of COVID-19 in an environment where we expect our schools to be reopening soon. We still have teachers who are refusing to vaccinate. We have children in their charge who cannot be vaccinated and therefore are vulnerable. We still have daycare operators. Imagine for the moment that you take your little 2-year-old baby to daycare. Those who are working in the daycare refuse to vaccinate. They say there's the right, they're not vaccinating. They were to get COVID and give it to your baby. Think about these things, because I'm not talking about things that are far-fetched. I'm talking about things that are accurate and that are borne out by what we're seeing internationally. So, speaking to this young lady, the young lady said to me that we have a situation now with the COVID-19 entering again in a most forceful way St. Kitts and Nevis. As a matter of fact, I haven't seen the statistics today, but yesterday and the day prior, we had 53 new cases across St. Kitts and Nevis. 50 on St. Kitts and 3 on Nevis. That is unacceptable. And we have to find a way to seek now to start to control this pandemic and to use all the tools that are available to us to do so. And so this young lady said to me, and again I said, I thought her clarity of thought was exceptional, and she said to me, can you imagine that there are people who are saying that they will not vaccinate? They will not vaccinate, whether to protect themselves, their children, their family members, their community, or their country. They're not taking a vaccine. But the minute that they have to travel, and the United States and the UK and wherever else say you must be vaccinated to come, they rush down to the clinic to take the vaccine. The minute they say I have to go on my vacation, they rush down to take the vaccine. So there's an irony here that people are willing to vaccinate to go on their holiday. They're willing to vaccinate to visit another man's country so that that other man in his country is safe. But they're not willing to vaccinate for themselves and for their own country, to protect their children, indeed sometimes to protect their jobs, because we are now hearing of some people who, in my respectful view, have fired themselves because their companies have said to them, listen, we need a safe work environment, we're asking you to vaccinate, we've given you so many opportunities to do so, and they have refused. So that is what we're dealing with. That is the reality of the situation. And I thought that putting it in that context for us, showing that there are individuals who are saying, yeah, put my hand up, I'll vaccinate to travel to America. I'll vaccinate to go on vacation. But don't tell me I must vaccinate to keep my job. Don't tell me I must vaccinate to keep my country safe. Don't tell me I must vaccinate to keep my children safe. I'm not doing it. I thought it was interesting. The second thing that we keep finding is that there are many people out there in the context of this whole vaccination effort who are saying they're not going to vaccinate. Some of them are saying COVID is not real. We don't even believe in COVID. Nothing goes so. And we're getting reports up to today from Jamaica. We're getting reports from the Bahamas. You know what the reports are? The reports are that their hospitals are now being overrun. With whom? COVID patients. COVID patients requiring ventilators, requiring oxygen, requiring treatment in the ICU. You know what that happens, what that does when it happens? It means that you and I, who require treatment for other diseases, can't go to hospital. Because if the ICU is full of COVID patients, they have a contagious and highly infectious disease. I or my relative wanting the ICU for some other reason can't go. You have a situation where now you're hearing that the beds are full, there are no beds left. No beds left. Indeed, I saw a report from a gentleman who said that his wife is suffering from stage 4 cancer and had to go to the hospital for treatment. And his wife was forced to be released early because they needed the bed. She could not stay in the hospital for the length of time because they needed the bed. People who require surgery. I had a relative in the United States, broke her leg required surgery and was told, imagine you have a broken leg, you can't go to fix it because no room in the inn for you, because COVID patients are flooding the hospitals, flooding the wards all across the world. This is what is happening. And so I asked the question rhetorically. If the doctors tell you that you must take the vaccine to protect yourself, you say no. In fact, sometimes you turn around and curse the doctors, say them a lie, you don't believe them. They're getting paid by the pharmaceutical companies, they're making money off of you, they're killing poor people, they're doing all these things. You say the most horrible things about the doctors and the medical community. You don't believe the science. So you say you're not taking any vaccine. Some of you say you don't believe that there's any such thing called COVID. So when you get sick, why you rush up to the hospital? When they say to you, Mr. Jones, you have COVID-19. Mrs. Smith, you have COVID-19. Why at that point you don't say nothing name so I can stay home? No. You still rush to the hospital. And who you rush to the hospital to? The same doctors you don't cuss and say, they might try to fool you. You don't believe them. They're not telling the truth. They're getting paid. These are the same doctors you know rush to and say, save me, save me, save me. Please, put me on a ventilator, put me on something, I can't breathe. I have COVID-19. So, these are the things that I'm not quite understanding. Because the statistics show globally that over 90% of those who are now being hospitalized and dying from COVID-19 are unvaccinated. It is now said to be a disease of the unvaccinated. And that is my concern, ladies and gentlemen. We can hold fire and water. We keep trumpeting this vocal minority. We now take no vaccine. Where when you get sick, how come you still end up at the hospital? Flooding the wards. And meaning that other people can't come hospital. Because the priority now is you and dealing with a contagious disease. At what point do we take some personal responsibility? At what point? I know people don't like when I talk about people taking personal responsibility, because none of us want to take personal responsibility. We all say we have rights, but none of us want the consequences of the exercise of those rights. We want to choose, but none of us want to accept the consequences of our choice. I did say to a young man one time, young man, you don't have 6 children, don't have any more, because the 6 you have, you can't support them. And the man cussed me off, tell me I don't understand poor people. I don't understand poor people because I said to him, you already have 6 children and you're not able to support them. Do not have any more. And he take me make enemy because I don't understand poor people. That is his response. As if poor people must go and have children that they can't sustain and support, because that is what poor people do. Abject nonsense. So we all say we have this right. So his argument was he has the right to have as many children as he likes. If you want 10, 15, 20, that's his right. I said, fuck it, partner. But if that is your right, and you decide to exercise your right to have 20 children, well, who gonna support them? You gonna come to me? You gonna go to Miss Mary down the road? Who's gonna support them? Or you gonna wait till the bailiff come for you for child support? Consequences. And that's why I keep preaching that we must develop some personal responsibility. So you're not taking a vaccine, you don't believe in COVID, you don't think it's true, you cuss the doctors, you cuss the scientists, you say everybody a fool, you everybody think they're smart, everybody this, politicians getting money, all kinds of things you say. But when you get sick, you fly up to the hospital and you ask them, please save me, the same doctors you don't cuss. We must think about these things, reflect on them, because that is what is happening here. Now, ladies and gentlemen, through our diplomatic efforts, and I was incredibly proud that I was able to lead the initial charge on this issue of vaccines from the United States. It was in March of this year that the OS asked me to be on a special panel to discuss the COVID situation. And I made the point then that the United States of America had excess doses of vaccines than the AstraZeneca vaccine. And that the United States had benefited Canada and had benefited Mexico, Canada being its border to the north and Mexico being its border to the south. They had made vaccines available to those two countries, their neighbors. And I said to the OS, with the Americans and others present, that it was time for the United States to consider making vaccines available to the third border of the United States, which is the Caribbean. I'm advised thereafter that it was very well received and that those comments were in fact transmitted to the White House. Thereafter, we had Prime Minister Gaston Brown sent an urgent letter to President Biden of the United States requesting vaccines. Our own Prime Minister, Dr. Timothy Harris, sent a letter sometime in April requesting the same as the lead Caribbean head on health. And Prime Minister Keith Rowley of Trinidad and Tobago, then the chair of CARICOM, sent a letter also on behalf of CARICOM. I would wish to commend Erwin LaRocque, the Secretary General of CARICOM, whose office coordinated what then became a regional push. And I myself participated in several calls with the U.S. Ambassador in Barbados, Linda Tagliatella, and thereafter participated in calls with the White House as we discussed the availability of vaccines and how it would work. I'm very pleased that because of all of those efforts, because of that full court Caribbean press, we ended up just last week receiving the first dose of Pfizer vaccines to our region. I was particularly proud that the first 6 countries to benefit in the region, St. Kitts and Nevis was among them. It says a lot of things. It speaks to the reparation effort that we have engaged in. It speaks to the new relationship that now exists. It speaks to the fact that the St. Kitts and Nevis relationship with the United States is now stronger than it was before. It also speaks to the efficacy of good diplomacy. And I feel proud, as I said, that St. Kitts and Nevis led the way in relation to that diplomatic effort. We now have the Pfizer vaccine. It's available, and I'm advised that we will shortly be told when it will be rolled out and be made available to our people. The big advantage to the Pfizer vaccine is that it has been cleared for use for those 12 years and over, whereas AstraZeneca has not been cleared for use for those under 18. The Pfizer vaccine has been cleared for use for those 12 and up. On the way here this evening, I checked, and over 7 million 12 to 17-year-olds in the United States have already been fully vaccinated as they get ready to go back to school. So, we have now taken a quantum leap forward in getting an alternative vaccine that will now be available for our high school students, those 12 and up. It, of course, will be a matter for parents to give the necessary consent. But I am hopeful that the vast majority of our parents, our adult population, and over 70+% of those have already taken the decision to take the first shot. And I believe that over 60% have already been fully vaccinated. If we can get that adult population to respond positively to having their children 12 and up vaccinated with the Pfizer vaccine, I think it will move us considerably forward to this herd immunity that we have been talking about and that we're seeking to achieve. I am encouraging our parents to reflect and to consider giving consent for their children 12 years and older to be vaccinated with the Pfizer vaccine. As I've indicated, over 7 million children in that age group have been vaccinated in the United States already. And it is my hope that we will get to a point where we will be able to vaccinate as many of our people as possible. And if ultimately a vaccine becomes available for those who are even younger, because we know that we give infants vaccines here because they've been approved for use for them. We will wait on the science. But in the interim, what we have available is these vaccines that are now going to be afforded to 12 years and up. And of course, there are any adults out there. Some have contacted me saying that they prefer to have the Pfizer vaccine. That's a matter for them. It will now be available to them as well. The government, ladies and gentlemen, is doing its best. The government is seeking to protect us. There's no conspiracy. There's no effort to attack anybody. We are trying to do the very best we can with the hand that we've been dealt. There's no playbook. There's no manual for COVID-19. Nobody has gone through it before and have been able to tell us how best to go about it. We are using the tools that are available as and when they become available. We're following the science, and we're seeking to keep our people safe. For God's sake, I beg of you, go out and protect yourselves. What we're seeing happening and what we anticipate in the days and weeks ahead will mean that there will be some dark days for St. Kitts and Nevis, and more specifically for the island of Nevis, which has thus far done remarkably well in keeping COVID at bay. It should not be a matter to make us haughty. It should not make us arrogant. It should not make us feel that we're better than anyone. I have said and continue to say that it is because of the grace of God, that unmerited and undeserved grace, why we're here today where we are. And we must seek to do the right thing and to be responsible if we are to maintain that safety record that we have. But I anticipate, based on what I'm hearing and based on what I'm seeing, that some dark days lie ahead for our beloved island. And I'm asking all of our people to take stock, to pray about it, to discuss with your doctor, to talk about it with your family. And I hope that you'll come to the decision that the best protection for you and your family is to go out and get vaccinated. Let us protect ourselves, our families, our communities. Let us protect each other, and let us protect our island and our country. That is what we are seeking to do. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it is 20 minutes to the hour. I was told that the Calypsonian this and that wanted to release a song tonight. He wasn't here at 8. I gather he's now come. So this and that, welcome. I don't normally allow people on my show who are late, but you're the king, so I suppose you get away with it. We have one song to be released, and then we have to get back to our regular programming. The song is queued up, I think. Okay, so this and that, welcome to On The Mark. I'm happy to have you here for a few minutes with us as we do this song and have this release done. It's a part of our Culturama. I'm having a debate as to whether we can call it Culturama since it didn't happen in August, but the Honorable Eric Evelyn has said that we will have something in September, hopefully on that Independence weekend, and we will seek to determine how best we go moving forward. We do not have a lot of time this evening. As I said, I knew that you had indicated you wanted to do the song, but then I didn't see you, so I didn't know what was happening. You're here now anyway, so we will have to proceed and see if we can have the song done, and then we move on. So, King this and that, welcome to On The Mark.
Good evening, Mark, and good evening to all who are listening to VOA Radio at this time. As usual, it's a pleasure being here, and especially it's a pleasure being on the On The Mark program, which is widely listened across the globe as usual.
All right, well, we have a song that's queued up. Can you tell us a bit about it before we
Yes, well, Mark, we have become a society that seems to have a problem dealing with success. We seems like we have become addicted to expressing sympathy with persons who are ill, persons who have failed, and worse yet, persons who have passed to the great beyond. Not in a good way. Not because they really mean it, but because they are happy to see you no longer a threat to them. And the song itself, explanatory, and you would understand. This song is called The Gospel, and in the Bible the gospel means the truth. So I call this one The Gospel.
Okay, well, let's give the gospel a listen. Cue it up. This is King This and That, and this is the debut of the song.
This is the launch of this one.
Okay, so this song has not been heard before, so let us give it a first listen then. Thank you for choosing On The Market's platform. And this is King This and That, The Gospel for 2021.
This is one for the ages. We funerals getting big, the church is too small. Some who came to sympathize don't know the dead at all. But it's part of we culture, send that brother home to go 6 feet under by himself alone. Joy coming in the morning is what they believe. They go benefit something once that brother leave. So they put on the jacket and tie, put a little water in the eye, then go to the church and cemetery to say goodbye. Oh my, I wonder why we so bad and lie. And in the church they sing, how great thou art, while the coffin is closing. How great thou art. The eulogy does make you want to cry when you hear the nice things they're saying about him. You wouldn't believe he had a died from starvation. They give him nothing to eat, but they buy him a wreath. And as the coffin go down, they raise up their voice and singing along. Then sings my soul, thy Savior God to thee. They undermine the deceased, and now that he gone, if you hear them, then it's all rest in eternal peace. They're too bad. I feel to call some of them names. Like to turn up to your funeral after doing you so much wrong. Then the bacchanal start, family start to fuss, fighting for what's left behind. If you hear them cuss, they never used to feed him, never wash his clothes. The struggles that he went through, not one of them knows. Like that tax collector, they came for their share. They're flying from all over, pretending to care. But when it's funeral home bring the bill, and they realized there was no will, the undertaker, my friend, today waiting still, until he now threatening them at will. But in the church they sing, how great thou art, while the coffin is closing. How great thou art. The eulogy does make you want to cry when you hear the nice things they're saying about him. You wouldn't believe he would have died from starvation. They give him nothing to eat, but they buy him a wreath. And as the coffin go down, they raise up their voice and singing along. Then sings my soul, thy Savior God to thee. They undermine the deceased, and now that he gone, if you hear them, then it's all rest in eternal peace. They're too bad. Oh yes, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. You see that every funeral, have become so hostile. We speak ill of the dead. Though they can't respond no more, we still treat them dread. We spread propaganda to tarnish their name. The things that we utter that make me feel shame. How we get so hateful, I keep wondering. Some say we just spiteful and undermining. They don't care if you're dead or alive. They don't want to see you strive, but turn up to your funeral where some even cry, then lie. But even then they're not satisfied. But we need church to sing, how great thou art, while the coffin is closing. How great thou art. The eulogy does make you want to cry when you hear the nice things you're saying about him. You wouldn't believe the brother died from starvation. They give him nothing to eat, but they buy him a wreath. And as the coffin go down, they raise up their voice and singing along. Then sings my soul, my Savior unto thee. They undermine the deceased, and now that he gone, if you hear them, may so rest in eternal peace. Lord, oh fella, struggle all the way through life, no help from nobody, but he gone, and he's all kind of niceness. I feel to call the name in truth.
That is the King This and That gospel.
I'm sure you'll agree it's the gospel.
I think it's a hard-hitting, very, very hard-hitting song, and the way you've introduced gospel songs, some verses there that we are all familiar with, and that they sing at every funeral.
They sing it at every funeral.
I think it's interesting. What was the inspiration behind this particular song, though?
Because, like I say, it's gospel, it's the truth, it's something you see on a regular basis. Many persons who, some of them really don't even know who passed away, but they turn up.
Mm.
And they're expressing all kind of love for that person because he gone now. He's not threat to anybody.
But when they were alive?
When they're alive, they wouldn't give them a penny, nothing to eat.
All right, my brother. Well, this, I believe, is going to be a very controversial song. I think that it'll be...
It should be. It's gospel. It's true. It's something everybody should agree with.
It will be widely talked about. And so, tell me your chances. You're going to be competing, of course, for the Kaiso competition in September?
Of course.
Okay.
Of course.
And I know you're a man always back yourself. So what do you feel how the competition look this year?
If you don't back yourself, who should back you? No, it's a good competition. Just like every other competition, you don't take anybody for granted. You go in and you fight hard and you do your best, and then let the judges do what they have to do.
Good. All right. Well, King This and That, thank you very much for being with us. As I said, we didn't have a lot of time tonight.
I know.
On another occasion, I hope that we can be back here. But thank you very much. We are discussing a number of other things, COVID and this Delta variant that is now here with us.
Serious times.
Very serious times. So thank you very much. We are happy that you were able to make it and that we were able to release this song tonight here on The Mark. You heard it here for the first time, The Gospel by King This and That, one of the tunes that he's offering for this year's Calypso competition, Culturama in September. A new development here on the island of Nevis. COVID has changed everything. King, thank you very much, my brother.
Thank you very much as well.
Good. God bless. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure that having heard this song, you will be reflecting on it because it has a very timely message, and that message is give people their flowers while they're alive and stop this approach where after people die is when you have good things to say about them. Okay, I'm going to be opening the line shortly, but before I do that, there's a clip that I wanted to play. Because we have the politics that is heating up here in St. Kitts and Nevis. I don't know why. Because there's no election that is in the offing. And I have said and continue to say that my focus remains on beating this monster called COVID. My focus remains on seeking to revive our local economy. My focus remains on getting our people back to work, keeping our people safe, fighting crime, creating jobs. Those continue to be my focus. I have had no time for the distractions. I see people launching, they say they have candidates, they have parties, launching new parties. I have not engaged myself with that because I believe, as the good Bible says, that there's a time for every season. There's a time for everything. And when the time comes, the big blue machine will engage. But every once in a while, something is said that raises and attracts my attention. And I am not one to shy away when these things happen, because I believe that there is a cancer that is seeking to infect our body politic, and that we have to root it out. And that cancer is not now about ideas and about a debate and letting people's contending ideas come into the public square and let people say what their plans are, what their ideas are. Let them appeal to you using whatever they have, their charisma, their eloquence, their ability to speak to you and communicate in a way that you can understand. Their ideas. That is what politics ought to be about. But what I have found happening is that there's some people who have turned to politics out of bitterness. They have failed at everything else in their lives thus far. And they have come now to politics as if politics ought to be their savior, and that the people of Nevis ought to allow them now an opportunity to be elected and to be put in a position where they can make decisions for people. Now, I have said and continue to say, if you have not demonstrated in your own life that you have made prudent and sensible decisions, why should the electorate trust you to make decisions for them? I have said right here on this show, and I will continue to say it. If the average man and woman out there, the single mother, the construction worker, that they're going out there and every month they earn, they put aside their money to pay NEVLEC, they put aside their money to pay water department, to buy food for their children, to pay their rent. And that is how they're seeking to make life. Young married couples are pooling their resources, trying to build a little house, trying to pay their bills, go to church on Sunday, trying to build families and be that integral fabric of our community. You then have others now who are allergic to paying bills. Every time they see the rent bill come, they get a rash. They start to scratch. NEVLEC come, oh no. Water, food, they are allergic to paying bills. They owe everybody. But those are the ones who keep coming to you and telling you, boy, I believe that I know best. I am best qualified to serve. And you should put me in a position to make decisions for you. And that is the paradox. A lot of them who are not demonstrating in their own lives that they know how to create a job, that they know how to pay a bill, that they know how to be responsible, that they are upstanding citizens, they have not demonstrated that in their lives. But yet they are the ones coming to you and telling you, you who go out every day and do the right thing, you must vote for me, so that you put me in a position to make decisions for you. There's something wrong with that. And when you point that out to people, and you really say to some people that, listen, on balance, when you are assessed, you're found wanting. You're found wanting. And you ought not to try to force yourself on the electorate, because you have never demonstrated that you have the capacity, the integrity, the character to represent people. They get vexed with you, they make you enemy. And this cancer that I talk about is this venom that has been creeping into our politics. Listen, I've been a politician now for a little while. They call me the campaign in chief because I have led from the front in relation to any campaign that my party has been involved with, local or federal. I have not shied away from issues, but I have not sought to engage in any personal attacks on anybody. And check my record. Check my record. If I have engaged with somebody, it is because of their record that I have spoken to. That is what I have done. And I can say tonight, as I sit here on the mark, that I hold no enmity in my heart towards a soul. There's no room in my life for enmity. I'm about love, not hate. So when I see the venom that some are seeking to inject into our politics, the vitriol and the hatred, the naked hatred, where they seek to hold other people responsible for their failure. I find that there's a problem with that. And so I happened to be listening to something that a friend sent me. And I came here tonight and I took the unusual step of saying I'm going to address it on Von Radio tonight, because it is the very cancer that we must eliminate from our midst. And I've asked the DJ here, my worthwhile companion and assistant here at Von Radio every Wednesday, to cue it up for me, because I want you to hear it for yourself.
I want to come back. When I die, I want to come back as a worm. So when people like Zook and them dead, I just eat all the ice first. I want to come back. When I die, I want to come back as a worm. So when people like Zook and them dead, I just eat all the ice first. I eat all the brain.
See, you could cue it up again and play it again for me, because I think it's important that the public hears this. It wasn't said in private. I'm not taping anybody's private conversation. This was said on radio. I want you to hear this, because it's important that we hear what is being offered out there as public and political discourse. It's important that you hear it. When it's queued up, let me know so that we can hear it one last time, and that the public can listen for themselves what it is. It's being put out by political party, and in this case the Nevis Reformation Party here in Nevis, being put out there by their spokespeople, their candidates, the so-called intelligentsia in the party. They're the ones who are at the front on the microphone, and this is what they're saying. Here it is. Listen again.
I want to come back. When I die, I want to come back as a worm. So when people like Zook and them dead, I just eat all the ice first. I want to come back. When I die, I want to come back as a worm. So when people like Zook and them dead, I just eat all the ice first. I eat all the brain.
So normally, as I said, I don't pay any attention to foolishness. And when I see foolish people, because I'm of the view that foolishness is contagious, just like COVID. So when I meet foolish people, I try my best to avoid them. But some foolishness has to be confronted, because it is being put out there and being passed off as serious political debate. Now, that voice was the voice of some fella called Kelvin Daly. He said he has a PhD. Now, I say he has, because education should make us wise, not stupid. Education should be something that uplifts us. Education should allow us to open our consciousness. And here is he, a candidate for the NRP, an executive member. In fact, he was acting leader of the Nevis Reformation Party, going on radio to say that when he dies, he wants to come back as a worm, because Zook, who's Alexis Jeffers, everybody knows him as Zook, the Honorable Alexis Jeffers, the Deputy Premier of this island and the Minister of Agriculture et al. In the federal government, a man who has distinguished himself in the political life and times of our country. And here is this Daily fellow going on radio to say that when he Daily dead, he want to come back as a worm, so that when Zook dies, he could eat out Zook eye and eat out the brain. Now you tell me, what manner of martel, as the old people would say, could come up with that kind of vitriol? When you're dead, you're dead. I believe that what you should be thinking about, if you are at that stage where some of them are, indeed all of us are, I should say, but some of them are in the late autumn, early winter of their years. And if you're at that stage where you're considering death, shouldn't you be thinking about making your peace with God and going, hopefully, to a better place? No. Instead, he's thinking about what he gonna come back as after he dead. He want to be a worm, so he could, who eye and brain he could eat out. That is what he's saying. And I'm just looking at this and saying that is a level of vitriol, of venom, that is on our airwaves by people who say they're bright, who say they're sensible, who say they're educated. And my concern is that these are the individuals who are setting the tone for the Nevis Reformation Party. They're the spokespeople, regardless of who you hear is leading NRP. These are the people who are on the microphone every night, on every radio station, speaking on behalf of NRP, and I've never yet heard the leadership of NRP distance itself from them. They should cast them out. We have no place in our body politic for this type of vitriol and venom. And I will not play it again, because when I'm done here, I'm done with it. But I wanted to play it tonight just so that the people at home and abroad could get a flavor of what is passing for political debate in this country, where people, former leader, executive member, candidate, now chief spokesman for the NRP, could say with that level of venom that even after he dead, he still wanted to do damage to people. And a friend of mine said to me in response to this tape, so well, I hope when he come back as a worm, somebody doesn't come back as the early bird. Because you know they say the early bird always catches the worm. But reflect on it, if you will. It is 3 minutes past the hour of 9 o'clock. We're going to open the lines now and take as many calls as we can. 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. Let's go straight to the lines and say good evening. You're on the mark.
Good evening, Michelle.
Good evening to you, my dear.
How are you tonight?
I am doing well, thank you.
Tell this and that is all good.
Yes, of course.
Proverbs 19, verse 1, 2, and 3, and 4. Better is the poor that walketh in his integrity than he that is perverse in his lips and is a fool. Also that the soul be without knowledge, it is not good, and he that hateth with his feet sinneth. The foolishness of man perverseth his ways, and his heart fretteth against the Lord. Wealth maketh many friends, but the poor is separated from his neighbor. A false witness shall not be unpunished, and he that speaketh lies shall not escape. Good night, culture. Sympathies going out to all who lose their loved ones. Mr. Brantley, have a good evening.
Thank you very much for that, and we're going to continue to take your calls. Thank you as always for the beautiful scripture, something that you select every week for us, and we're grateful to you for that. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Good evening, Mr. Brantley.
Oh, good evening to you. How are you?
Great.
Great.
Happiness comes when we stop complaining about the troubles we have and offer thanks for all the troubles we don't have. I repeat, happiness comes when we stop complaining about the troubles we have and offer thanks for all the troubles we don't have. Have a great evening.
Thank you very much for that. Beautiful thought, scripture and thought. I love the 1-2 combination each Wednesday for us. Thank you both very much. Let's stick to the phones and go back and say good evening. You're on the mark.
Mark?
Yes, good evening, brother.
Good night. This is Stark Puppy.
How are you?
I just wake up. Let me ask you something. The fool called from New York yet?
I don't know. The fool, you say?
Yeah, the fool called from New York yet?
We haven't had any calls from New York, so I don't know who that is.
Okay, well, let me explain to you. I went by Tango, and Tango is my best friend in the planet. And Tango played something for me from a fool in New York that got a program. And the fool is saying that you're not worthy to be foreign minister because the way you deal with the talk puppy, the hush puppy situation. But the fool wasn't even listening you, that you never had certain information, or maybe he heard, but he didn't believe you because the standard's so low. It's a pity that we have people like that. And he's a bright guy. But so he's calling you down as foreign minister, and I know you're capable of being the best foreign minister anywhere. So let's move on from that. So I told him on my program yesterday, don't forget, don't just talk on your program about Mark Brantley. call in Wednesday night, so I just wake up, put on the radio, and I heard you. That is why I asked you if the fool called yet.
No, well, I haven't heard from anyone at all, so we'll wait and see.
No one told you that this guy in New York calling you down so bad?
No, but perhaps that's because they're not so relevant. That's why I haven't heard about it.
Aye.
You know,
let's go to Nevis now. You played tape just now?
Yes.
And I was scared.
Mm-hmm.
Because we cannot stoop so low if we are aspiring to be a politician.
Mm-hmm.
I've always heard about Daley. I don't know who is Daley, but I like to meet him. But he can listen me tonight. Daley should not stoop that low. He cannot do that because that is not sharing or caring anything to the younger ones who are coming up. When we reach this age, because the Daley that I'm hearing about, it must be that this person is over 40 or 50.
But I think over 60 by now.
Okay, good. So that means this is the same Daley I've been hearing about, but I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I am just asking him to be very careful in his deliberation because it doesn't seem like he could go anywhere with this kind of thing because politics, I learned it from you. Even though we are going after each other, it still should be done in a certain respect, you know, and I ask the people in St. Kitts to listen to you on Wednesday night because every time I listen to your program, I learn something.
Mm-hmm.
Have a good evening. I want to give somebody else a chance.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much, brother. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate the call. I really like the engagement. As I said, I don't know who this person is from the United States that you mentioned, but I engage with relevance, and relevance sometimes is important. And that's why even in relation to this clip I just played, I said ordinarily I would ignore rubbish. But to me this went to a particular dark place that reflected a certain level of personal venom that has no place in our politics. If the Honorable Alexis Jeffers or Mark Brantley or whoever has some policy or has done something that you don't like, absolutely. We live in a democracy. I don't expect everybody is going to agree with me. Everybody should not agree with me. I don't expect that. But when you engage in that level of vitriol, when you're going to say that when you're dead you want to come back to eat out a man's eye and brain, something is wrong with you. Something is wrong with you. That's a sickness. And we have to excise it from our body politic. We have to cast it out. And I'm very serious about that because that is where these things start, you know. That is where these things start. People listening to this and it's seeping into our consciousness, and then we start from there. I'm reminded that in Rwanda, when they had the genocide, it was people on radio calling other Rwandans cockroaches. That led to that, where people dehumanize people to such an extent that they start to kill each other. We must reflect on these things. We have enough capacity in our country to disagree and disagree even strongly with each other, but without resorting to that. And that's the point I'm trying to make. I don't need nobody in NRP to agree with me. Because I bang them already, I'm going to bang them again. Them, they like the usual beating stick. You know, worry with them. But what I do want is that we serve a purpose higher than ourselves. And at the end of the day, whether somebody's our supporter or is not our supporter, or somebody who's not aligned at all, because there are many of us who don't really get involved in the politics, they must be hearing things that offer a legitimate alternative view, not vitriol and venom, because that seems to be all that some has to offer. And I'm going to tell you all something tonight, you know. When you see you got that venom inside you, it kills you, you know. It eats you out. If you allow people to occupy your mind and your heart to such an extent that every night before you go to bed and every morning when you wake up, that is who you're thinking about, it starts to eat away at your humanity, at the fabric of what makes you. You start to get stomach problem and gastroenteritis and heart failure and all kind of thing. You know why? Because you've allowed hatred to enter and dwell inside you. Let it go. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. and hating the other man does nothing to build the country. Nothing to build the country. How does saying when you come back, you want to come back as a worm, go eat up man's brain and all kind of foolishness, how does that create one job? How does it guide one youngster? How does it help one single mother? What idea does it advance to advance the country? How does it help us fight COVID? The answer is not at all. You don't help in any way, shape or form. In fact, it devalues the speaker and it devalues those who are listening. We must shy away from foolishness, from ignorance, and try, if we say we're educated, to bring that education to bear. Let people see it. If you're bright, you don't need to tell anybody you're bright, you know. By what you say and how you act, people say, boy, that fella bright, that girl, they're bright, boy. You understand? If you have integrity, you don't need to tell people you have integrity, you know, by your works you shall be known. If you're a man, you don't need to walk around and tell everybody I'm a man. Me a man, you don't need to do that. They should look at you and see that you're a man. There are certain things in life I feel that if you say you have these attributes, then let them come to the fore. Let your light so shine before men that all can see that is what you have in you. But if you bring ignorance, venom, vitriol, hatred, that is what you're bringing, I say it has no place in our body politic. And let us excise it and get rid of it now, rather than allowing it to fester, allowing that cancer to fester. We cannot allow that. We cannot allow it to metastasize. I think that's the word. We must excise it as quickly as we can. Let's go back to the phones and take some calls. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello? Hello?
Yeah, blessed man.
Yes, good evening.
Yeah, the Honorable Mark Brantley.
This is
Blessed
Mark
good
Brantley.
evening, man.
I'm sorry?
Blessed good evening, man.
Good evening to you.
Yeah, I listened to you for a while, and I hear you say a lot of things concerning the COVID, right? You touch herd immunity. What we herd immunity number, you were 70%, right? Of our population. What it is at this present moment? Still 70?
Well, 70 is sort of the minimum. That's what they're saying. Yes.
70?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, let me tell you, even if we vaccinate everybody in the Federation of St. Christopher and Nevis, we still don't got these talk going on with the COVID situation. Because the vaccine ain't got nothing to do with no COVID. It is two complete different stories. That's one.
So what does the vaccine have to do with if it's not COVID?
Huh?
What does the vaccine have to do with if it's not COVID?
The vaccine is just the real requirement to vaccine at this time. Let me tell you, the beast of this world, right, is like a drowning man grabbing to a straw. That is why the vaccine become a requirement at this time.
Let me ask you something.
Let
me ask you something. You're from St. Nevis?
Yes.
You grew up here?
I grew up in Kenya and Butler.
You got vaccinated as a child?
I got vaccinated one time.
Only once?
Once in my life.
Okay. And what did that vaccine do to you? Anything bad?
Well, I've got no problem with it at all.
Okay.
So far.
So that vaccine wasn't something that it wasn't a bad thing.
Well, I can't say it was a bad thing or it was a good thing, because the thing that they tell me that why they vaccinate me at that time, it was not known the truth.
Okay. But you had a vaccine at some point in your life growing up in St. Kitts and Nevis.
Yeah.
But you're now saying that the COVID vaccine is something entirely different.
It's something entirely different.
And you're saying that based on what? You're saying that based on what?
What you is talking now is not no science. What you is saying is not no science, you know. What you is talking is on the politics of the White House. Because the CDC just recently right? The CDC just recently put out an announcement saying that vaccinated and unvaccinated people are of the same status.
You said the CDC put that out?
Yeah.
That vaccinated
and unvaccinated people are of the same status when it comes to getting the COVID, spreading the COVID. So they require masks for everybody.
Okay, caller.
Everybody, vaccinated and unvaccinated. The White House jumped on the CDC and said that CDC ain't gonna reason to be saying these things at this time, right? And then CDC come back and say 0.1% is better than nothing at all. So if you're vaccinated, you got a 0.1% chance for not being critically ill if you get the
caller, I regret that. Listen, what we try to do on this show is to share accurate information. And while you're entitled, wait, hold a minute, I listen to you. While you're entitled to your opinion, that you're saying, I have read nothing of the kind. I do my research. Caller, I do my research before I come on this show.
Well, you have to do deeper research.
Well, I don't. Well, how deep you want me to go? I look at all the news media. I look at the CDC.
I could tell you for a fact that you're not looking to the news media because this information in you, I get it from CNN.
You get it from CNN that the CDC is saying that there's no difference between vaccinated and unvaccinated.
Vaccinated and unvaccinated, so that's why CDC calling the requirement for everybody to wear a mask.
Yes, caller, but
everybody vaccinated and unvaccinated.
Yeah, caller, that's a different matter entirely, right? The evidence shows that those who are vaccinated have a much lower chance of getting COVID. They have a much lower chance of transmitting COVID, and if they do get COVID, their symptoms are much milder. They have a very low chance of death. The statistics, caller, the statistics in the United States in particular now show that over 90% of those in hospital are unvaccinated.
I see all that.
So if you see all that, how are you saying there's no difference?
I see all that screen you say right now.
You don't believe that? You don't believe that?
But I'm telling you what the CDC put out. How come you want to tell me what you see and you want to accept why I tell you that?
Well, but you're just telling me that you see all that I'm saying to you.
There you go.
I am not seeing what you are saying to me.
I don't want to time because other people want to call. I still had one more thing.
Yes, what else you have to say?
I looked at number thing, but you still fail to tell the people of St. Christopher and Nevis that the booster is on its way. So you got to inform the people of the booster.
Well, call, I can't talk about booster before the health authorities here have advised us.
You got to read them in the authority.
But we have always waited and been guided by the health authorities.
The booster road in America for the 20th of September. I give you the information, then the years about you in the detail.
Okay.
So all you have to do is just prepare the people for the booster.
Okay, well, caller.
The vaccine is not working. The vaccine is nothing to do with the COVID.
Okay.
You guys.
Alright, caller. Okay, caller, you've had your opportunity. And what you're saying, please, let's just, caller, thank you very much, okay? This is a show that is prime time. We really don't and can't use it to spread false information. And what you're saying is false. You cannot say that the COVID-19 vaccine has nothing to do with COVID. Because if you are to say that, it means that the entire world, the WHO, the PAHO, the entire world, the CDC that you commented on, that everybody has been lying to us. And I think that that is too vast a conspiracy for my simple mind to grasp. Okay? So, if you don't want to take a vaccine or you think you're against it, then say that, and that's fine. That's your choice. Your choice will have consequences, but that's your choice. But coming with all of this about CDC say there's no difference. What do you mean there's no difference? And every day the CDC is out there begging people to vaccinate. Well, if there's no difference, why would they ask people to vaccinate? Why? I'm talking about booster. They are talking in America about a booster shot being necessary to deal with Delta. But that has not yet come to us through our health authorities. And we're guided by our CMO and our health team, who thus far, Call, have done an exceptional job. So give it time. They will guide us. They will let us know what is necessary. And in a forthright and honest way, we will come to the public as we always do and say to the public what is happening. Okay? There's no need to try to use these forums to spread false and misleading information that is not supported by anything. So when you tell me that I need to dig deeper, I don't know how deep you dig in. Right? I really don't know how deep you dig in and where you're digging to. Because I don't know of any single report that supports anything that you have said tonight. So let us disagree if we must disagree, have differences of opinions if we must, but please let us not misrepresent the science and let us not misrepresent the facts. Let's go back to the phones. It is 22 minutes past the hour of 9 o'clock. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello.
Good evening, Mr. Brantley.
Good evening to you.
How are you tonight?
I'm good, thank you.
I am neutral here. I'm not neither on your team nor the other team, okay? I have
which team is this you're talking about?
Well,
you mean politically?
Political team.
Oh, okay.
Just neutral, concerned parents of two. You know? I have 4 points. I'm not trying to dump money from the phone.
So talk fast then.
When
Go ahead.
Finish, you could answer the questions. My first question is, you talk about Jamaica hospitals being packed with COVID patients, but why nothing being said about the 3 deaths we had here, all allegedly being vaccinated? So henceforth the vaccine does little or nothing. You're trying to say, just make sure you ain't got no underlying blood pressure or what's not, and then you won't die if you get the vaccination. Okay. Second one, you as the premier, what did you do in support of this so-said company and its employees to make sure that they have a safe and reassurable for 14 days, I guess that's how long they say. And the third question, and I realize your latest post on social media was a clear and direct message to us as citizens of Nevis that regardless of the outcome of vaccinated or non-vaccinated, that you and your family will remain on top and afloat. Basically, all right, then you don't have to worry. Okay? And 4, you talk about time for everything, but what message were you trying to send out? Because, I mean, you got people looking at you on social media. So what message were you trying to send out to us here who, I mean, don't have as much money or even dream to get you kind of money, looking at you and listening to you and you know, what message are you giving out? And you say foolishness is contagious, but yet still you come out here as a strong, educated black man, you know, entertaining this nonsense. But we all know this nonsense don't, and I said don't affect your daily living, okay? But we here, this young generation here, because I want you to realize that you have maybe 18 years old to maybe 32 years old people, a crowd listening to you. You not preach to the old, no disrespect to the old folks, okay? But you ain't preaching to the old people them who don't live their life, okay? You preaching to us who actually trying to believe what you're saying and trying to understand. Come me take me notes to hear me book, me take me notes every Wednesday to what you say. And I just want to understand that we rooting for you, but you have to be honest and truthful. And like I said, I respect you, and you have a wonderful night, Mr. Premier. That's all.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I'm sorry you say you don't have any money left because you have said so much that it would have been good to engage with you. You said, for example, that I made a Facebook post saying whatever happens, me and my family are going to be all right. Well, unless I made that post in my sleep, I'm not aware of what you speak. And I'm a very public person. I'm a Facebook, social media person. I don't shy away from that. And so I have no idea what you're talking about, that I made some post saying no matter what happens to anybody else, we are going to be all right. That was not me, and I could say that quite categorically because I am very careful about what I say in the public domain. You talk about whatever money, I don't know that you're my banker and how you get to determine how much money I have. I certainly don't know how much you have, but I'm not getting into that debate. I believe that I come here each week and I say what I consider to be the facts. If I'm fact-checked and it turns out not to be so, I can come back, as I often do, and apologize for not getting something right. I have never sought to put myself above anybody else or to say I know better than anybody else, but at the same time, I have a responsibility to lead, and to lead this island in the best way and with the best advice that I can get, and that is what we have been seeking to do throughout this COVID-19 pandemic. That is where we are, that is what we are seeking to do, and that is what we will continue to seek to do. I agree with you that 18-year-olds to 32-year-olds, but in fact everybody is listening, because it requires all of us to get past this particular pandemic. It requires all of us to build this island of Nevis. And so, as far as I'm concerned, I will continue to do the best that I can. And when it is that you feel that I'm not being truthful or I'm not saying something that is accurate, call in and point it out, because I will be the first to admit if I'm wrong. I've lived a life of being very open and straight and transparent with people in terms of my dealings, particularly since I've been in public life. I have made a name for myself that I protect jealously, and that is why when I get it wrong, I am never ever shy of coming back and saying, listen, I'm sorry, I got that wrong. Many people are not capable of doing that. I have done it because I think that my integrity is very important to me. So caller, I'm hopeful that the next time you call, we can actually engage in a discussion, because you said you had 4 things, but you said nearly 20 things, and it is difficult to respond to them all without getting some clarity from you as to what it is you were talking about. So on the next occasion, I hope that we might be able to engage, and to engage in a more substantive way. But along the way, I can assure you that I will continue to lead in the best way that I can. I'll continue to listen. I will continue to learn from those who are the experts, and to continue to put out there information that is accurate. When that information changes, or when new information comes to light, I will come back, because that is my nature and that is what I seek to do. And along the way, Carl, I hope that you say you're neither here nor there, that you will come on this side of the line, because we are the ones who have demonstrated over the years that we have the best interests of all the people, those 18 to 32, those under 18, those over 32, all the people at heart. Thank you very much for your call, and I hope that we can engage in the future as well. Let's go back to the phones and take some more calls. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Good evening, Mr. Brantley.
Good evening to you.
Now, I got the opportunity to view a few graduations, 2 of them today to be exact. And I think that the teachers did an exceptional job. It was well done. The graduates were all well prepared.
Yes.
But I called in to say congratulations to my little niece, Shaquania Jones, who made an exceptional speech today as the valedictorian. And I must say, on behalf of the Jones family, we are very proud of her, and that Jones is in the house. And I must say congratulations to her, to the head teachers and all the teachers of the primary school graduation. And tomorrow is another 2 graduations, and I would like to say congratulations as well to my nephew, Bree Andre Jones of Fountain Village of the VOJ. And so we can see, and all of us can see, that regardless of the situation that we have a few bright colors going up to high school. Thank you very much, Mr. Brantley, and thanks very much to the Minister of Education.
Thank you very much, and congratulations to all the youngsters that you've mentioned. Congratulations to all the schools who are going through their graduation now. It is difficult, of course, in this environment, but I think that they've done an excellent job, as you say. They've done it virtually, and congratulations to Minister Troy Liebert and his entire team at the Ministry of Education. So thank you very much for that. Thank you for your call.
You're welcome.
All right. It is 9:30, and we continue to take your calls. Let's go right back to the phones. Good evening. You're on the mark. Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening to you.
This is Mavis Price.
Hi, Mavis. How are you?
I'm good. I am calling to empower our citizens. I want us to go back to being self-motivated and to believe that nothing worth having comes easily. So therefore, in this COVID time, I'm asking our citizens to empower themselves so that they can reinvent themselves through education and training. In that regard, I am studying my skills in teaching CSEC clothing and textiles, in teaching sewing skills, and in teaching batik craft. Anybody interested can contact Mavis Paris, 664-2209. There is a new world out there waiting for us if we are only brave enough to try something new. So, call Mavis, 664-2209. CSEC, clothing and textiles, and sewing skills that can stretch your dollar. I thank you.
Thank you very much.
Having advertised myself.
Mavis, before you go, could you give us the number one last time?
664-2209. Mavis Paris, clothing and textiles teacher.
Thank you very much. All right. Thank you, Mavis, and thank you for that. And
I want people to understand that sewing skills can help them. You know, there were times that I go out by around and I buy a pants for $10. And when I buy in the pants, the woman said, "But Mavis, the pants can't fit you on the waist." I said, "Yes, but it's too long on the foot." I take a piece of cloth from the foot and I put it in the waist, and I'm wearing a pants for $10. But if I had to buy some fabric and make a new one, it would have cost me $30. If I had to buy the fabric and take it to the tailor man downtown, it would have cost me $80. And I want people to know that even though you're getting a small salary, you can stretch it in many ways. Don't hang out your clothes in the sun and leave them out there. Extending life of your garment. And when you extend the life of your garment, you're extending the savings in your pocket. And we have to get back to the days when we used to put a nail in the shoes to fix it. Don't be so easy to throw it out. We have become a throwaway nation, and it is not good for our resources. It is not good for our carbon footprint. That is the waste that we are putting in the environment. So we must take pride in keeping our things for a longer lifespan.
Okay.
In doing that, we are going to safeguard ourselves with our finances, empower ourselves in vision, and then we can empower our nation. All is not ended. If you can no longer cut grass, you can sew a dress. If you can no longer sew a dress, you can learn to make some bread. I mean, these are things that everybody here do. Nobody walking around making it needed. So that is an economy that we must learn to develop. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for that, and thank you for your effort and for your interest in teaching others. Each one teaches one. And you know, Mavis, I'm very proud of you because you took a chance to travel all the way to Indonesia to learn batik, and I thought that that was very commendable. And we still have to do something with those skills. So we will have to work on that together. Thank you. It is 25 minutes to the hour of 10 o'clock. We continue to take your calls. 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. Is there somebody on the line? Let's
yes,
go straight
brother Mark,
back.
it's me.
Good evening to you. You're on the mark.
Yes, man. Good evening. How are you doing, brother?
I am well, thank you.
I have to add another name to your name, you know. No.
No?
Yes, with the ark. Remember Noah preached and tell the people them that there going to be a great flood, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And they must all come into the ark to be safe.
Mm-hmm.
And you could imagine the kind of language and what they use tell Noah not study him, man.
Mm-hmm.
And all the animals them what can't talk, they went in 2 by 2. And when the flood come, and they realize now that they're going to drown, they banging on the ark telling Noah, oh Noah, open Lord, Noah going to drown. Too late. And that is what can happen around here with a lot of ignorant, foolish people. I got to say foolish because the Bible says, the fool saying is that there is no God.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you and the Prime Minister for the Federation, you all are preaching to everybody who can hear. And who can hear, they will understand, what they call it, the signs. You all are preaching and telling the whole nation what is best for our lives. Lives first. Before anything else. If all of us dead, they would not use to for the boat them to come here to spend the money, because nobody gonna be here to spend the money. After Lloyd, then you look for the economy, and you can't preach no more. The Prime Minister can't preach no more before people come on the show and congratulate you and give God thanks for you, because you're trying to save the little bit of lives you got here. They come and talking all kind of nonsense about what you believe and what you hear and what you don't hear. And COVID, I mean the vaccine ain't good for this and ain't good for that. Too late shall be you cry. A lot of people when they lay down on their bed and they realize the ignorance what they follow by not protecting themselves. They say, Lord, if I didn't know. You didn't know. It's too late. It's too late. All what they got to do, people sit down, listen carefully when you hear senses speaking, and you assess and you analyze, and you say, okay, that's so sensible. Mark so sensible. Let me go and do it, because it's a shield. You cannot go on the battlefield against people with ammunition and you don't have none. You have to have your shield. When they leg the dart put up on the shield and the bunks off.
Exactly.
But exactly. I don't understand. People just
you wear seat belt, not because it can protect you from a car accident, but if the accident happens, it is proven by the science that it will save you. It's likely to save you more than if you didn't wear one.
That's right.
You wear bulletproof vest. It doesn't mean you can't get shot.
No.
But the chances are that if you get shot in your chest, you'll survive. I mean, these are things that are, to my mind, basic. It doesn't require a rocket scientist to understand these things. Nobody can guarantee you that if you take this pill, you will never get this illness. Who can guarantee you that?
That's right.
Right? What they can tell you, listen, if you do certain things, it reduces your chance of getting the illness. So people seem to be saying, oh, if I could still get COVID and get the vaccine, but look at the probability, look at the risk. Because if a man says, listen, I'm out there without a vaccine, so therefore my risk is 100%. But if I get the vaccine, that risk goes down to only about 10%. Well, that means you're better off if you got the vaccine than if you don't.
Yes.
Similarly, in relation to whether or not somebody gets sick, they can transmit it or they die. When I look at the numbers coming out of the United States, they tell a clear picture. The people who are in hospital, the people who are dying, overwhelmingly, over 90+% are unvaccinated people. So the numbers don't lie, the numbers tell you what is happening.
No. Brother Mark, a simple scenario. 1983, when we get the information from up in the States that there is a virus out there called HIV/AIDS, I hear some ignorance come out of some man mouth. Boy, did they me get it? Me now go down me one and spread them. I say, boy, no, you're a criminal. But a lot of them, when they go down the road, and they realize that the HIV could kill them, and they see a woman and they want to go and have a fun with the woman, first thing they go, you need the jug to go buy a condom. Well, if you don't care about nothing, why you going to put on a condom? You talk to a man about he load the children, and then you tell him, look, boy, stop get children. Yeah, because you can't deal with what you got here now. Don't get no more, and he abuse you. So that scenario goes to he. He got 6 children, and if he go down the road and he want to go have fun with a woman, and he ain't sure how she be, but he ain't one dead. So he can buy a condom and use it. Simple like that. They got to do protect themselves and guard themselves. But anyway, time short, so I'll talk to you next week, God willing, Brother Mark. Have a good night.
Brother. Your voice sounding strong. I'd like to hear that.
Than Samson. Samson had to ask me to carry the Atlas.
All right, take good care. Okay. All right, it is 20 minutes to the hour 10 o'clock. We're taking your calls. For those just tuning in, you're listening to On The Mark. I'm your host, Mark Brantley, and we're having a live and lively show this evening. We have 20 minutes left. Let's continue to take some calls. Good evening, you're On The Mark. Hello?
Good night, good night.
Yes, good night.
Yeah, Mark, I hear some things there in your opening comments, and you're so right. And you preach along the way all the time. And I believe the people who is listening to you, and the people in the Federation too. Because when you try to inform and update people on this deadly COVID situation, especially with the Delta variant coming to, I make one of here, but if somebody will bring it in and we don't know who they contact with, so we still got to watch ourselves with that. And we're going to get it here soon. And, I just want the people of the Federation to stop warning and just listen to the protocol and just do what they got to do. Now, Mark, there's a situation. I want to commend the lady today. She was on the briefing today. She's sending a voice note, a voicemail or something, briefing. And I think she donated $6,000 to the COVID fund to help. And other patriot people like she, council people like she, in the federation, who got it, could go looking still and all. Because the government got to really spend a lot of money now, and especially with the ignorant people that they not the vaccine, they don't have the mask. When they go and they get in contact with them and they get COVID, the government got to spend all that expense. When they go in quarantine, the government got to pay money to feed them. And, you know, this is the thing that we got to feel because of ignorance and because of social media. Up to last week I was listening to the English pattern with the Prime Minister and a so-called Christian calling and the amount of ignorance passing towards the vaccine and the COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Man, let me tell you something, you know. We got to stand up to this COVID and the people have got to do what they got to do. Because ignorance and the fake news and the social media spreading around and bringing all these things just to tell how people might come taking the vaccine. I believe that we ain't going to work. Especially with the young, with the vaccine coming now and the young people put it 12 and put it now. So let me just do what we got to do to save our country. Everybody said they want the country open up, they want work, they want this, they want that, but they don't want to take the vaccine or put the country to a stable state that we could go back to our normalcy. Mark, we have a wonderful night. Good night, Judge Jackson, lady, the British Sports Channel. Good night, Annie Buffy, down there, and good night to Sister Clara up in the Mark, you have a wonderful night. God bless the Federation of the People. God bless you, Mark.
All right, good. Thank you very much. It is now 16 minutes to the hour. We continue to take your calls. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening. You're on the mark. Okay, we've lost that caller. Callers, 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. Those are the numbers to call if you want to be a part of the show. And we invite you, of course, to call in and make your voice heard. Let's go straight back. Good evening. You're on the mark. Hello?
Hi, Mr. Brantley. Good night.
Yes, good evening.
My heart goes out to that young lady from yesterday morning that a dog jumped over the fence, a Rottweiler, and gave that woman almost 50 bites. She's in the hospital now. I wouldn't call her name, the pastor's wife. I am appealing to these people who have these dogs, big dogs, and then dog fights and all kind of things. Please to either keep your dog thing, otherwise I would encourage the police them to shoot the dogs them. Mr. Brantley, it is hard when a lot of people are just pass them on the road early in the morning, they're going for walk. And then the dog can take you might be in my yard and I hear my dog barking, but I don't look out. But this dog, big dog, jumped over the fence and almost tear that woman in pieces. It's only the mercy of God save her. And I angry with the police then because they would have shot all the rest of. And it hurt. I don't know if you know you're the Minister of Health. It's just another thing. You're the Minister of Health.
Okay, thank you very much, caller. Yes, I'm aware of the very unfortunate incident. I specifically did not discuss it here because I know that it's an ongoing investigation, but certainly I've been in touch with the family and I extend my own best wishes to the young lady who was attacked by these dogs and hope that the police investigation comes to a speedy conclusion. What I will say is to join you in encouraging all of those who have dogs to ensure that they're secured. And to say very clearly that dog fighting and any cruelty to animals is against the law. It's a criminal offense. So for those youngsters who continue to engage in dog fighting, wherever they may be, in St. Kitts or in Nevis, then I would suggest and urge that you cease and desist from doing so. It is cruelty to animals, and it is against the law. Let me go back to the phones and take some calls. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello? Yes, you're on the mark.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Brantley.
Good evening to you.
Yes, I'm hearing people still being hesitant in terms of taking the vaccine. After all these weeks and days and weeks and months, a few months of saying that they need a choice, are people still being hesitant?
Well, people have continued to be hesitant, but you know, it is something that we continue to battle and continue to encourage people. That is what we are seeking to do, to encourage each other to go out and do the right thing.
I thought after asking for choices in vaccine, and the one that the second one that we now have, the Pfizer, that was one of them that they was asking for.
Yeah, but we haven't rolled out that one yet. We just got it last week. We just got it last week, and we hope to start administering it soon, but we haven't yet started it. So once we start it, we're hopeful that those who had a difficulty with the AstraZeneca will be willing to take the Pfizer. And of course, we're hopeful that people will allow their children 12 years and up to also get the Pfizer.
Right, that's so, yes. But why I'm saying that is because you're still hearing people talking about, why should we go and take a vaccine and stuff like that. That's why I mentioned it. Because, you know, I know it hasn't been rolled out as yet. But if you're being hesitant now, you know, and it hasn't been rolled out, I mean you're going to be hesitant when it is, you know. So because I'm saying that you ask for it, you ask for a choice. Now you get a choice. You should be at least now be kind of relaxed and step forward to take the choice that you asked for. There's the next thing that I'm hearing where they're saying that a company, you know, here in St. Kitts and Nevis, we have one part down of it here in St. Kitts and the other is in Nevis, where they say that the company will probably let go of their workers. I don't want to think because I'm not privy to the evidence, so I don't want to be saying that. And they're saying that the company let go because people were not vaccinated, so because of that they were being laid off or fired. I'm not sure of it. So, and they're saying that none of the government ministers, it is cruelty towards the workers, and they haven't heard of any of the government ministers, whether the Prime Minister or yourself or anybody else, coming out in support of those workers, you know, because it's not fair to them. So because they have a right not to put something in their body that they don't want, and the company, it's not right for the company to just whether lay them off or fire them because of that right. And up to this moment, they haven't heard any one of you coming out in defense of those workers.
Let me ask you something. If any of those workers who refuses to vaccinate because they have a right were to contract COVID and come into the company's premises with COVID, do you recognize that the entire company has to shut down?
That is so.
And is that fair to the company and to the other employees?
It's not fair. It's, in my view, it's not fair to anybody. The company, even themselves. But they're saying that they have a right. I don't know. Okay. I guess now a right is the one-way street. So. Well,
that's the question, and you hit it on the head. Everybody says they have a right, and I respect that. But is the right a one-way street? That's the question. There's a company right now in Nevis, a significant company, and on my way here tonight, I'm told that the entire company has been forced to close down because 3 persons have tested positive, and they're now testing all the people in the company.
Yeah.
So the company has been forced to close its doors.
Right.
Now, is that fair to them? Is that fair to the other employees? I mean, you know, so everybody talks about their individual right. I have a right to do what I want. Okay. but the other person also has a right. And that is where the difficulty lies, when the rights now start to conflict. And then people say, oh, the government must get involved. Well, what are we to get involved to do or to say? Are we to get involved to tell a company, listen, you must employ people regardless of their vaccination status, and if they were to jeopardize you and your company in some way because they were to contract COVID and bring it into your business place, well, too bad. If you got to shut down for 2 weeks and lose all your money over that period and your other employees, then too bad. Or should we say to the companies, oh, you have a right legally to protect your business and protect your environment, so that's a matter that you should do. You have a safe work environment. That is why I suspect that people are saying you haven't heard anything, because what do you say in those circumstances?
That is true. That is what I am wondering, you know, as to what would you all say to those companies, right? And the next thing they're saying, I'm hearing too from them, that okay, the companies are asking the staff to be vaccinated, but their customers who are coming into those business places who are not vaccinated, and the company or the businesses are not chasing them back. So because of that, some of the staff think that because they're allowing unvaccinated people into the businesses, they have the right to be not vaccinated too, because the company is kind of flip-flopping, as you would call it. Because you're
except though that the customer has no duty to the company, nor the company to the customer, except to create a safe environment of work. But the employee and the company clearly have a relationship and have a duty to each other. So I think that's a fundamental difference between, I mean, you're a random customer, you could walk in, you could not walk in. But an employee comes to your place of business every day. And that is who you have the relationship with. But these are difficult issues. I do not profess, as I sit here tonight, to tell you that I have all the answers. What I will say is that COVID has demonstrated that the best protection that we have thus far is a vaccine. And that I continue to encourage our people, notice the word I'm using, encourage our people to go out and be responsible and to take the vaccine. Okay?
All
right, thank you very much.
All right,
we have 6 minutes to the hour of 10 o'clock. We have time to take a few more calls, and let's go straight back to the phones. Good evening, you're on the mark. Hello?
Yes, good evening, Mark.
Good evening to you.
With the amount of people on. I listen you with the vaccine. When me don't take the 2 vaccines, and when I do over the 6 weeks, me ain't get no money. So I want to know what's going on with them.
Well, I don't know. Did you apply?
I don't get the vaccine.
You apply?
Tell Nana and try. Yeah?
I was asking if you had applied for the money.
You say what?
I was asking if you had applied. You make an application?
They want to say that me get me little pension so me can't get no money.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but me still get me time home to sit down. Yeah.
But you're feeling okay though?
No, and the policeman and try good night.
Okay.
For me.
Well, happy birthday. Happy belated birthday to you.
Belated one.
Okay?
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Program, but then nobody put in a trouble.
All right, my dear.
Well, you just step it on your back.
All right. Thank you very much, and happy belated birthday to you. Okay, God bless. All right, that's my dear friend there from Sink. It always calls in, always gives me a call to look me up and check up on me. Thank you for that. It's 5 minutes to the hour. We have time for a few more calls, and we're going to continue. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening. You're on the mark. Hello.
Brother Mark?
Yes, you're on the air. Go ahead.
See, the problem I have living in St. Kitts and Nevis, there are so many people in this country, they want things to come back to a normal. They have no intention at all in taking the vaccine. But the point is, they're not taking the vaccine. The vaccine has proven that is the only thing can work. Yet they have no intention of taking it, but they want to improve society to live in. It just cannot work that way. So I am calling on our people. Understand that if you ain't want to take any vaccine, why are you doing that? where you going to live?
Well, you raise a very interesting point, caller, because we're really all in this together, huh? And we don't want to create any kind of us and them. So that's why we have continued to say, listen, please do the right thing. But the distinction that I keep identifying and I keep emphasizing is that with COVID-19, you're dealing with a highly contagious disease. So it's not just a question of your choice impacting only you. If it's diabetes or hypertension, if you decide you're not taking any medication, then the only person that is impacted is you. But with COVID, when you decide you're not going to protect yourself, you impact everybody else. The company that I just spoke of has to shut down. They're impacted. All the employees are impacted. Your children at home who are unvaccinated, they're impacted. Your elderly parents, your aunt, your uncle, your family members, anybody that you come into, they are impacted. The healthcare system. Jamaica is now overrun. Bahamas is overrun. The hospital system is at the breaking point. Why? Because the wards are filled with COVID patients. People running out of ventilators, running out of oxygen. Is that what we want to wait to happen here? I raised the argument about children getting vaccinated, those over 12, because the Pfizer can be used for them. And somebody tell me, oh, why you want to vaccinate our children? No child here has died from COVID. I said, so what you going to do? Wait until a child dies to say we now have reason to vaccinate? Is that what we're going to do? Why is it that we want to be reactionary rather than to take action in advance, to be proactive? We know that this is coming, so I don't understand. Do you wait until the car crashes to put on your seatbelt? Or do you put on your seatbelt? Nowadays they're making the cars them, as soon as you sit down and you turn it on, the car starts to beep. You know why it's beeping? It tells you you're forgetting a safety feature, put on your seatbelt. It doesn't wait until there's an accident and then tells you put on your seatbelt. It tells you put it on before, because it's a precaution. It's a prophylactic. It's to protect you. Just the seatbelt, the COVID vaccine. A caller spoke about the condom, the bulletproof vest, the helmet, the protective gear that the fireman uses. The idea is to protect you. That is really what it's about, you know. Protecting yourself, protecting your family, protecting your community. So I don't understand when people say, so a fireman wears protective gear. That doesn't mean if he goes in and there's an accident, he can't die in the fire. The protective gear doesn't tell him you're guaranteed that nothing will happen to you. But it does tell him that, listen, you have a better chance. You go on the battlefield. You have on your helmet. You have on your bulletproof vest. It's not to say you can't get killed by a gunshot, but it says you have a better chance. That is what we're doing. We're trying to give our people the best fighting chance against COVID. And I don't understand what is so difficult about that to comprehend. Ladies and gentlemen, we have time for one more call. No? My trusted controller here says no more time. So it is exactly 10 o'clock. And you know what happens at 10 o'clock? The band strikes up and it means we have to go. Thank you so much, everyone, for a wonderful show tonight. Thank you for all those who text. Thank you for those who called. Thank you for those who continue to be a part of this show every week. This show is rebroadcast tomorrow at 1 p.m. right here on VON Radio, the voice of the Caribbean. And when you go home tonight, I beg all of you, let us pray for each other. Pray for each other. And pray that if you die, and when you die, that you will see God's face, and that we ask Him to forgive us for the multitude of our sins. Don't pray to come back as anything to go after anybody. Please, let us elevate our debate and our discussion in the country, and let us do better. Thank you, good night, and God bless you.
Views and opinions expressed on the preceding program were solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Nevis Broadcasting